Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel codeglancer.com, and today I am again ready with the another video. So in this video what I am going to discuss, I am going to create one interview scheduler app. So for that, creating the project skeleton, what you have to do, you have to type in browser like start.spring.io, and this gives you basically one template to create the new project of Spring Boot. So here in the language section, as you can see, like I am choosing the Java because this is going to be Java based, and for the build tool I am choosing as a Maven, and Spring Boot version I am choosing 3.0.2. And these are things related to your projects, basically like what will be the group ID, what will be the artifact. So let me type com dot code glancer com dot code dot glancer. So what will be the artifact ID? This is going to be interview scheduler. Yes. Package name I will write like interview dot scheduler, and here also I am just going to change it like interview dot scheduler. Com dot code glancer dot interview dot scheduler, this is going to be my package name. So in definition you can write like this is a Spring Boot application to manage the interview process. Okay, and then packaging you have to choose as a jar, and which version basically you want to use for the Java. So currently I am using 8, so I am using it. And then a very important section is here, add dependency. So this is going to be web application along with the RESTful web services. So I will just type like web, and this is the beauty of this application, like it will include all the related jar for Spring Web. So just click on this and this jar will be included here. Then I am going for Lombok, and what else? Okay, so I think for now these two are basically required. Let's generate and go ahead. So now after that you have to just click here, generate. So this is going to generate one folder, and you can basically download it. To click on generate, basically it will give you one zip file. So this zip file, what you have to do, like you have to go to this folder, and first of all you have to extract this zip file. So I am just going to extract this one. So in Mac, if you double click, like it will automatically uh, unzip it. But if you are using the Windows, okay, you have to unzip, like right click and extract all or something you have to do. So now I am ready with this code. So what I'll do, like I will use very famous editor that is called IntelliJ, and I will export that into the IntelliJ. So let me open my IntelliJ tool. So currently I am using the IntelliJ IDEA community version. So you can also use this because this is basically free. And if you want to go with the paid one like enterprise application, that you can use, that is basically the advanced version, and it is having a lot of features, like currently this IntelliJ community version do not support the dev tools like hot deployment. Means if you are debugging any code and you change the code in between. Okay, so without restarting your application, that is not going to reflect. And there are a lot of other benefit basically. So now let's talk about how I can import this file. So generally there are a lot of options, but I just go through like file and then I click on new and project from this existing source I do. And here you will get one pop-up, and I have my download in downloads. I have downloaded this interview scheduler in download, so I am just going here, and here what I'll do, I'll select the Maven and I'll click on open. So this is going to basically open my project. So I am saying like open here. So this is going to take little bit time because it is going to download some kind of dependency, whatever the dependency we have mentioned here. So this will take some times. And if you see here, this is a Maven project, so you can, if once you click here, it will give you what are the things. And even if you want to do any Maven setting, you can click on this sign, and here you can see like what is the Maven version it is going to use, and where is the your m2 folder of repository, and where is the your setting.xml basically. And if you expand this, like we have a runner also. So if you see here, currently Java 17 is selected, so I am just changing into 1.8. Okay, so basically it will take some times to import the project. So meanwhile I will be telling you like what is Maven. So Maven is one build tool. You must know this. So this is basically used to give you all the dependencies, like which jar you have to pull and all. So if you open the pom.xml file, this is the Maven file, and where if you see like we have given group ID, artifact ID. So all these are coming here, but who is the parent for this? So parent is Spring Starter parent, and this is the version with 3.0.2 what we have selected. So what will happen, like for this parent there are some dependencies which are listed here, like starter web, and then we have excluded a lombok, and then we have a some test dependency. Along with that, it is giving one plugin that is like lombok plugin. So lombok is basically used for um, generating the getter setters or to string method and all, because if you write and if there is some changes, like you have to do a lot of manual work. So this is a very good feature provided by the lombok. It just generate the source code for all of these in the compile time. So now we are ready. Okay, so let me explain you a little bit more about this pom file. So in pom file, first of all we have a parent, and these are the things like what we have given in the my project. What is the group ID, what is the artifact ID, what version of the software you are going to develop, what is the name of your application, and this is the description basically. So here by default Java 17 has come, so you can even change it to 8 or something. I will change it to 1.8 version. Okay, and then yeah, here it is saying like, yeah, enable auto import. Yeah, that's correct. So if you see, this is all about the pom file. Now if I expand this project, so if you see here, uh, only focus on the src folder. So this is Maven and this is the src. So if you expand it, it is having one main where you will write all your code which are basically related to application, and this is like test folder where you will write the code uh, which will be basically for testing the whatever you have written in the main. So this, and if you expand this, we have a Java. So all the Java related code you have to write here, and all the uh, any configuration or properties file or YAML file you can put here. So you can basically put the application properties file and all here, and if you want to include any Java file or something, you have to write here. So now if you see, by default this application has given me interview scheduler as a app name, and it is having the at the rate spring boot application as a annotation. Okay, so I'm not going to discuss a lot of things on this. So today's video is like continuation on the yesterday's video where I have talked about the class diagram and all, you must remember. So let's first create one package, and that package is going to be model, or you can call it as a domain. Okay, I generally call it domain or sometimes package also. So domain are basically the entity classes. So let's create some entity classes what we have identified yesterday. So first class was like user, so I am just writing here. So now we have created one class as a user. Next is what we have class something called interview, and then we have one more class as candidate. We have another class called feedback. We have, okay, let me just check it like what are the classes we have taken on yesterday's video. So if you come here, okay, I was missing one talent class. Okay, user we have taken, interview we have taken, feedback we have taken, and candidate we have taken. So only we are left with the talent class. So let me create the talent class. So one more thing, like if you have not watched my previous video, kindly go and watch, because that will give you a lot of hint like how you can create the class diagram, and then from class diagram you can convert the into the code. Okay, so these are the classes I have created. So now we have to add some attributes here. So basically using the encapsulation, one of the oops principle, I am writing like private, and this is going to be big int, or you can take like integer whatever you want, or long. Okay, so I am going with big integer, and this is going to be the ID of the user, and then we have to give the private name of the user. This is going to be string, and then we have a, let's say, address. Okay, so now like how the user will have a login. So that login is nothing but login ID will be the email ID, and then user will have one mobile number. Okay, what else user can have? So if we come here, what are the things we have written? Yeah, so user will have one role, so we have to create one role as a enum. So let me create here a role, and this is going to be role. So this role we have to create as a enum. So let us create one package called enum here. Okay, and let me create one file. Sorry, new new, then we have to create one. I think I did a wrong, just I am deleting. So here we have to add here package, and package name is enum, and here you can add the Java class, and Java class type you have to select as a enum here, and this is going to be a role. Okay, so if you see here, I have taken a role as currently admin, HR, and interview. So I am taking here admin HR interviewer. So basically these are the roles we have taken. So now come to the user class. So we can just import it by, so this is giving some lot of option here, but we have to import from here. So now we have a role, and then user will have his profile URL. So basically these are the minimal things what we have to write here, and most important thing is like email ID and password, right? So now we can either create getter and setters, or we can write here like @data, which is from the Lombok, and it will give you setters, getters and all. So yeah, so actually we are done with this, and now let's come to talent class. So in the talent class, what we have to give? So first of all we have to give like private begin, and then we have to give as a talent ID. So I am taking as a talent ID. So and then private talent name, and then private string. What we have to take, let us come here and see. So we have name, we have a requirements, so we have now requirements here. Okay, what else? Then we have start date, end date. So private local date, start date and end date. Okay, and what is there? We have a job location. For which job location this is? So this is going to be job location, right? And here I am going to annotate with data. So this is also done. Talent is now done. We have now everything. Now let's come to candidate now. So candidate, what it will have? Private int ID, private candidate name, private string address, private string email, private string mobile. What else? Private integer CTC, private integer expected CTC. What is next? Private string location and private string notice. Okay, so these were the things, and then we have to take the private string resume URL. So now we are ready with this candidate class as well. So let's annotate this class with the @data from the Lombok. So now we are ready with user, talent, candidate. So we are left with the interview. So interview, first of all we have to take as a big integer of id, this is going to be interview id, and then for which candidate we are selecting, so this is going to be private candidate, candidate, and private user scheduler, scheduler, and private, then what we have again user, and this is going to be interviewer, okay. So what else, so what is the date of the interview, so I am taking local date and time, local date and time, so date time of the interview, what else do we need, and then against which talent this interview is going to schedule, so we have to take the talent and talent, okay. And then what is the interview status, right? So when someone is scheduling, it will be schedule interview status, interview status. As you can see, like I have to create one enum here, so I am just adding this as a enum, and here you can change the enum, and then you can create it. So this is going to be scheduled, then we have what we have rescheduled, reschedule, then what we have cancelled, cancelled, then we have no show. No show will happen when someone did not join, okay. So now we are ready with the interview class, interview status as well. So now go to the interview, just import this, okay. This is done. What is left here, and then we have a meeting link, so this is going to be string private string meeting link, got it. So this is going under it data. Now we are left with feedback, okay. So what is the feedback here, so feedback will have its feedback id, so big int id, and then we have, okay. So feedback is are you giving the feedback against which candidate, right? So private, then we have a candidate, candidate, and then feedback is against which interview, so candidate, sorry, private interview, and interview, 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 and next we have to create one status, okay, like whether he is selected or rejected. So we can create like private candidate status, you can say, or interview status we have already taken, okay. So in the interview status itself we can put some other shortlisted or selected, we can say selected or rejected, okay. So we can come here and we can put as a status then can interviewer will give remarks as a feedback, remarks, and he will also give some kind of a rating. So I am taking this as a integer. Okay, rating. Okay, so we are now done with all the changes. Okay, so now if you see here, we are ready with all these classes now. So now what we have to do, we are going to use JPA. So for that we have to write the JPA annotations here. But if you see, I have not included JPA related dependency here. Okay, so first of all I have to write dependency, and JPA related dependency we have to basically write here, right? So if you go to Spring initilizer, okay, or maybe like if you open the maven JPA dependency, Spring Boot dependency, and if you can go here, okay, so it will give you dependency related things. So let's say I am clicking on this, and or maybe we can use the starter dependency as well. So I have another project, let me open that project, and I can see which dependency we are using here quickly. So yeah, so we have also starter dependency of JP. Now come to here, and we can just replace by this, and this is going to just download the jar. Okay, and for the to save the time, I think I have created some domain classes here. So maybe like we can just utilize these classes. Okay, so here we have a feedback class and everything. So I'm just going to use this. So now it's time to basically write the entity classes and all these annotations for the Hibernate mapping. Okay, I think here the import has come wrong, so we have to just do Control Z, and then let me write it. So we have to maybe like this has changed now, but earlier it was Java X. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Code Glancer. So in today's video we are going to discuss about the Java class mapping with the entity class, how you can convert any Java class to Hibernate entity class. So for doing that we have to use some annotation that is like at the rate entity annotation, and this is coming from java x.persistent api. So if you annotate any class with at the rate entity class, that will become the entity class. And in entity to table, how will you connect? So for doing that, you have to use like at the rate table. This is also coming from the persistent api. So basically this class will be treated as entity class if you annotate with at the rate entity, and then entity if you want to connect with any table, then you have to annotate with at the rate table. So if you see here, we have a user and users. So user is the class name and users is the table name basically. Okay, so let's quickly discuss all the fields and what are the constant I have added here. So we have a id, and this is the annotated with at the rate id, so that it will be in a sequence automatically getting inserted. And then we have a email id, this is going to be the login id of the user. And then here we have a password, this is basically a write only of at the rate json property, so that it will not be included as part of any response. And then we have a role, and role is basically one kind of enum, and this is I have annotated with at the rate enumerated with enum type dot string, so that it will take the string value, not the 0 1 2 3. And then we have a forget token and otp. Okay, so this is very standalone user class. There is no entity relation between some other classes. So now let's jump to the next one. Next one we will talk about the candidate. Candidate is also very similar to users. Candidate is having if you see here, id, name, address, and email id is also given here, and this is a unique value, and mobile, ctc, expected ctc, location, notice periods, and resume url. So this with this is completed. And yeah, to make the candidate as an entity class, we have used the entity at the rate entity annotation, and to connect to that candidate table, we have used at the rate table. So now we will go to the talent table. So we have a talent table here, and with this at the rate talent table annotation, this entity class is basically connected to the this talent table. And here we have a id. So if you want to directly input the value, then you can annotate this with at the rate id, and these are some other fields basically. Now come to very important one, that is the interview table. So how the interview table is here? Interview table is having a relationship between candidate as well as user, right? So against which candidate, again for whom this interview is getting scheduled. So we have a candidate, but how, what is the relationship between interview and candidate? Like one interview will have at a time when someone is creating the interview, he is going to put only one candidate. That's why I have taken the hibernate relationship at 1 to 1. Okay, and join column. So what is the join column name is going to be here? Hi, this is like candidate underscore id, and this is coming from which table? Candidate table, and this is referring to id. So if you go to the candidate, here we have a id, that's why reference column name is id here. And if you go to the next one, we have a user who is scheduling the interview, like hr or someone, right? So and at a time, scheduler will schedule the interview, that's why it is having 1 to 1 relationship. And scheduler id is the foreign key into the interview table, and it is referencing again user of id. Then we have a interviewer. So in my example, I have taken one interviewer in one interview, that's why here we have a user, and this is like 1 to 1 relationship. And the for foreign key column name here is like interview underscore id, and it is referencing to id of the user. And then we have a date and time of the interview. Okay, and then we have talent, against which talent this interview is getting conducted. Okay, so so in one interview there will be requirement of only one thing, that's why we have 1 to 1 relationship between the talent here as well. Got it? And then we have a interview status. So interview status, if you want to see, like we have a scheduled, rescheduled, cancel, no show, rejected. All of these are status of the interview, right? So if you see with this here, the main point is how interview is related with candidate, user, as well as feedback. Okay, so with that we can conclude this and go to the feedback. Once the interview is completed, user means interviewer will come and he will give the feedback. So against which candidate he is giving the feedbacks, that's why here in feedback and candidate we have again a relationship here, and against which interview he is giving the basically the feedback, right? So again one to one relationship I have given here, and then interview status is uh, what is the status here, like he is selected or rejected basically, and then interviewer will give the remarks and rating. So with this, if you see, like we have completed all the domain class mapping, and with respective tables are also given. So how these tables are basically we are going to connect with the Postgres database. So for that we have to add some jar here. So first of all we have to add the Spring JPA jar as well as the Postgres jar. So these two are the dependencies we have given here, and next we have to give some database related properties by which your application will collect to Postgres. So here the property name is spring dot data source dot database data driver class name. So driver class name we have given as a Postgres SQL driver, then spring dot data source dot URL, and this is the URL like JDBC colon Postgres colon, and this is the your host machine name. So this is my running in the local, so I have given localhost, and this is the port number 5432, and code lancer is the name of the database, and schema name is also interview, so interview is here. Okay, and then we have a username and password of the database. So Postgres is the username and password is admin, and these are some of the Hibernate properties, like ddl hyphen auto is update basically whenever you run the application, if there is any changes in your domain classes, and it will connect to the database, and it will try to see like all these tables are updated or not updated. If you add any column or something, it will just update the tables as well. That's why we have here. And then we have a so SQL equal to true, so all the sequels it will show you. So I will explain you when I start the application. And then Hibernate some properties we have format SQL equal to false, like whatever the SQL it will generate, it is not going to format it. So now it's time to start the application. So I am just clicking on the start button, and let's observe the log, what logs it is printing here. Yeah, so it is trying to start now. Okay, so if you see, it is connected with the database, and I think I have already updated the started the application earlier also, so there was no database changes detected. So it must have created all the tables and along with all the fields and all. Let's come to that and see into the Postgres DB. So basically for Postgres DB I am using one of the terminal for client, and that is called pgadmin. So you have, once you install the Postgres, you will have a one pgadmin in your application in your system. Okay, now open that, and here I am using the Postgres version 10. So if you see here, you will get like some databases. So how many databases are there? There are a lot of databases. So currently I am using the code glancer, as I shown you the code. So if you come here, we have used code glancer as our database here. If you go to the properties file, you can find it here. Code glancer is the database name. So in code glancer we have a schema as an interview, so this is here given, and then whatever the mapping we have done, so we have done mapping for the user, talent, interview, feedback, candidate, right? So all of these are here basically, candidate, interview. So let's open one by one these and see what is the query it has created using the create script. So if you see here, this is like already predefined. So these are the instructions given by Hibernate, and then it has created into the um PostgreSQL database. So there is a table called users, and it is having all the attributes, and there are some constraint, foreign key constraint, unique key constraint. In this table there is no foreign key constraint, we have a primary key constraint and some unique constraint. Now go to the candidate table. So candidate table is also very much similar to user, and here also we have a id, address, ctc, expected CTC, location, mobile number, name and all. And if you see here, we have a primary key and unique key constraint on the email what we have mentioned into the. If you come here candidate, here we have mentioned like candidate, and here we have mentioned like email ID is going to be unique, that's why it is coming here. Now come to the interview, which is very important part here. So there are a lot of relationships, so let me open here the interview one. So if you see, first relationship is with the candidate, and then we have a with two relationship with the user, one to one. So if you see this table, how many columns are there? uh, it is having the ID, date, and interview status, meeting link, candidate ID. So this candidate ID is coming, like if you see here, candidate ID is here, referencing to which table? It is referencing to the candidate table basically. Then we have a schedular ID must be referencing to the user table. Then we have interviewer ID, right? So interviewer ID, if you see here, it is also referring to the which table? User table. So here if you see, we have a interviewer ID, candidate ID, talent ID, and scheduler ID, right? So there are four foreign key references from the other table. So one is from the candidate table, one is from the talent table, and two references from the users table, one for interviewer, one for scheduler. Okay, so with this we can conclude the interview. Now come to the feedback. So feedback is having relationship between the interview and candidate. So let's open this and see here. So if you see here, candidate ID and interview ID, like these are the basics, but here I want to show you like when you write one to one, how it is going to create the table and all, right? So if you see here, again we have a interview dot candidate and candidate ID as a foreign key, and interview ID again as a foreign key, and this is coming from the interview dot interview table. Okay, so with this we are very happy, and we are now able to understand the flow between, okay, flow between the any entity classes, as well as Postgres table, right? So with this I am concluding my this video, and I request, if you like this channel informative, kindly do subscribe and share with your friends. I am going to upload more and more video related to this application. Sudhir Dubey signing off. Thank you.